Okay? The proper process in this circumstance is not to fire people. Let's say technological efficiency has made it so that you can get the same work done a decade prior in literally 2 hours, okay? In a decade ago, you could get the same workload done. Do we deserve this? Is that what America deserves for its crimes? I mean, I don't think anybody deserves this. I think, ironically enough, these are the same crimes that America was committing around the globe, but now is committing to itself in terms of the shock doctrine, in terms of, forced austerity measures and crippling the economy at the behest of private capital. We're doing that, but now domestically. Things that we have done globally, which I think are completely unacceptable, completely inappropriate, has caused a lot of pain. We are doing to ourselves. We've been doing to ourselves these things as well, but I think we're doing this to ourselves even harder now than ever before, and in a more aggressive rate than ever before. Have you seen this community note about one of the hostages? What? Okay, I don't want to look at that. That seems insane. Okay, that seems like a crazy community note. All right, I work for the federal government. Everyone is scared. We all about to be shit canned. We took government jobs for less pay, for job security and pensions. Now none of that matters. Yeah. This was the executive order that Trump signed before the. Oh yeah, this is the new incredible executive order from Donald Trump. You know, saving the American population. President Trump signs an executive order halting federal funding for schools that mandate the COVID vaccine. It's his COVID vaccine. He took credit for it. Okay? He talked about Operation Warp Speed. And now he's like, oh, if you take it, if you make it mandatory, yeah, you don't get federal funding. What an insane set of circumstances, dude. I mean, what is happening, dude? Incredible stuff. Constantly in this weird dynamic where on the one hand, COVID vaccine, and it was awesome and it was so sick and I saved so many lives. Biden could never. And then simultaneously being like, and yeah, if you make the vaccine mandatory, then, if you actually get people to use the vaccine that I made, by the way, with my own 2 hands, we're going to take funding away from you. Crazy how we haven't even been a month into Burger Reich. I know. They're intentionally tanking the economy. I think they are just following through on the libertarian dreams that many wealthy people have fantasized about, purposely dismantling the federal regulatory state piece by piece at the behest of tech giants and CEOs and the executive class so that they can make more profits off of all of these previously government-controlled sectors, and also simultaneously destroy the regulatory state. Liz Franczak thinks they want to do a new Bretton Woods, but in Florida. Yeah, I think that could be the case. It's very difficult. I do interviews all the time lately, and one of the questions always is like, well, what do we do here? Like, what do you think is going to happen? And I don't know. I don't know where to go from here right now. All I know is that we need better leadership. And it's very difficult to figure out like exactly what's going to happen, exactly how competent they are. Here, by the way, speaking of which, the prosecutor who blew the whistle on the Adams deal resigned from the DOJ. She was a Federalist Society member and a Scalia clerk. Okay, so there's this side of the process too. Okay, which is crazy. Like, you got Reagan judges on the federal courts stopping Trump's like insanely unconstitutional agenda. You got Federalist Society judges being like, this is so corrupt that I can't deal with this. Like, you're ruining an active investigation into obvious corruption of the highest order by doing more corruption, by doing more quid pro quo. I wish instead of completely wiping out federal agencies, they just move the headquarters to a different regions of the country. Can just one person go to jail? No. I mean, no, not at all. You can't do that. You can't send anybody to jail. God forbid you send even a Democrat to jail. That means a powerful person in a position of that means a person in a position of power can ever get legal scrutiny, and that's a dangerous precedent to set. Okay, we can't do that. God forbid we do that. We cannot do that. I mean, that's it's just really, it's a dire situation, dude. What is most demoralizing is that my normie friends are like, yeah, man, that's awful. Anyway, these are college-educated resistance libs. Yeah, that Federal Society judge, man, does she think this whole time their legal framework was at all legit? No, they are just opportunists. They want to advance their careers. Some of them are naturally conservative. Some of them basically lean into that kind of politics. But it doesn't really matter. Like, what's the difference between Asmongold and Matt Walsh? Asmongold doesn't fully believe the things that he's saying, but he knows that it's like getting him a lot of views, so he's saying them, right? Matt Walsh does believe the shit that he's saying. Bro, where in the in LA can you buy wintergreen Zins? Nowhere. I'm still holding on to every time I'm like running out of flavored Zins, someone just sends me a care package. How long till riots? I doubt that riots will happen in this country. We are very sedated. We are a servile people. We fancy ourselves to be revolutionary people, but we are very docile people, I think. American, the revolutionary stint of America was purposely gutted, partially as a direct consequence of our neoliberal dominance, post-Cold War, post-World War II, so much prosperity, so much dominance, and Americans have designed a system that shelters them from, that keeps it together. I mean, literally look at Afghanistan. Look at Americans still maintain the position that they're anti-war, not recognizing that war is a constant part of American existence. It's just that we've basically outsourced it. This was amazing, by the way. This is the new Secretary of Health and Human Services, ladies and gentlemen. Remember this? Just got married. Homosexuality was a phase, says Tim Dillon. She's a beautiful angel, Tim. Easy to see how she ungayed you. Is this real? Yeah, no, it was real. This is not a fake tweet. I think he might have deleted it, but I remember seeing it in real time, live when this tweet was out. We'll do the RFK Jr. compilation of all of the insane things that he said about vaccines and the like in a little bit. But, you know, awesome stuff overall. Brilliant minds in charge of all of these departments. It's a really interesting predicament because, like, on the one hand, you think about like Pete Hegseth or Tulsi Gabbard, right? But their positions in government are already like positions that require you to be very violent. And also, if you're incompetent, that's not necessarily the worst thing, right? Like if the American war machine and the person most responsible for the American war machine is an incompetent, drunk asshole, maybe that's not the worst thing. But the Department of Health and Human Services requires competent leadership because it actually does touch the lives of many Americans in a very meaningful way. It is supposed to be the umbrella organization that controls so much of the regulatory space in terms of health and wellness. And the fact that you have a guy who is antagonistic to medicine, modern medicine in general, leading the charge there is truly terrifying. And one of the first initiatives that they put forth was, of course, taking out mood stabilizers and antipsychotics, assess the prevalence of and threat posed by the prescription of selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, antipsychotics and mood stabilizer stimulants, and weight loss drugs. Incredible stuff for them to come out and just be like, you know what we need to do at a time when seemingly week after week, there is another dude with a lithium prescription that is off the medication or just never really got the medication necessary to combat whatever is going on up there, has ease of access to an arsenal of weapons and just goes into a fucking school and lights it up. What we should do is make sure that there are less, okay, is great. A perfect combination, readily available weapons everywhere, okay, and no health care, or even with the lucky few that have access to health care, once they do get that health care, once they do get a script, right, that the doctor told them to take, they won't be able to take that script, that prescribed medication, because we decided it's bad for you. Cool stuff. I wonder what that will do to the suicide rate in this fucking country that's already incredibly high to the combination of the factors that I mentioned, which is healthcare is inaccessible and paywalled. And also on top of that, weapons are very easy to acquire. Great stuff. You know, I look at this nation, I look at this wonderful nation, and I think to myself, you know what this nation needs? More insanity. Okay. Yeah. Republicans love talking about how gun violence is a mental health problem, and then also turn around and go, we are not doing anything about mental health. As a matter of fact, we are not going to improve mental health in this country. We're going to make it worse. Oh, I honestly don't get how people can hear you say these things and just be like, this guy's an idiot. I mean, it's pretty easy. I think people just say that because of partisan perspectives. They're not applying reason or logic to the equation at all. I think they've been prone to hate, and it's understandable. That's it. That's where it comes from. It's not about personally thinking about what I'm saying and maybe thinking, all right, well, there's some truth to all of this. I get it. Yeah. Has Hasan been streaming for 4 hours? No, I've been streaming for 1 hour and 3 minutes. I've only been streaming for an hour so far. A lot of suicide talk happening now on the CPTSD forums because of that from the White House. Yeah, that's the other side. Like, there's also PTSD for veterans. There's also that too. Like, what do you think will happen to the veterans when they don't have access to the SSRIs? Great stuff. Definitely. Like, Americans medicate not because they, I don't know, are predisposed to insane levels of consumption and everything is burger. Every solution is just like consume more product, consume more commodities. There's kind of a reason for why a lot of Americans require this medication. You know, I like that there are a lot of things that require a multi-pronged approach. There are a lot of issues in this country. Virtually every issue in this country requires a multi-pronged approach. But instead of trying to address all of those problems individually and then fix virtually every aspect of society that is that is designed in a way to make sure that you're maximizing profits for shareholders, instead of undermining that structure and fixing it at the behest of the citizenry, we've decided to make things worse, okay? And take away all of the remaining remaining SSRIs is not the end, you fucking ape. Zero, everything is about you. Zero. Yes, I think this existence, like your existence this way, is certainly proving that medication is bad to take. Yeah. No, go ahead. Prove the point that I was making already. I also never said SSRIs is the end all be all. I said that for a lot of the problems that Americans face, the solutions are complex. It's multifaceted. Okay, I'm drunk right now, but okay, chatter. I mean, it's 12:44 here in California, so I don't know where you're at. But goddamn, okay. Don't check logs on stream, but the last day they logged in here says a lot. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, virtually everyone's lives would be better if they had ease of access to mental health treatment, okay? That's all I'm going to say. All right, I love you, chatter. You are loved, regardless of your disagreement with me right now in your drunken state, okay? Anyway, let's continue. Mass layoffs are beginning on federal workers. Here we are.
Now to Washington, and the Trump administration's beginning mass layoffs of federal workers impacting multiple agencies. Tens of thousands of employees are expected to lose their jobs. Our senior political correspondent Rachel Scott is tracking the latest from the White House. Good morning, Rachel.
Rebecca, good morning to you. And federal workers who did not resign as part of that buyout offer were warned that they could possibly be laid off or fired. And this morning, we are learning that mass layoffs have started across multiple federal agencies. This morning, the Trump administration taking its sweeping efforts to shrink the size of the federal workforce one step further, ordering agencies to lay off nearly all probationary employees, meaning those hired within the last 1 or 2 years. A move that could impact as many as 220,000 federal workers. At the Department of Veteran Affairs alone, more than 1,000 new workers were dismissed. Overnight, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau also firing term employees, with expectations that the rest may be fired today, leaving a skeleton staff of around 5%. The CFPB and VA are just two of several agencies that have started to cut federal workers so far. The administration also targeting the Department of Education and the Environmental Protection Agency. The largest federal employee union slamming the layoffs, calling it a blatant violation of the principles of fairness and merit that are supposed to govern federal employment, and saying the firings are about power. At some agencies, workers learned by email they had been laid off. But at the Office of Personnel Management, others found out on a call.
You will receive your termination notice via email shortly. As a result, your employment with the Office of Personnel Management will end today.
Elon Musk, who has billions of dollars in federal contracts and is spearheading the efforts to slash government spending, also calling for the elimination of whole agencies. Musk sitting down with Indian Prime Minister Modi Thursday before he met with President Trump. The president unsure the capacity of Musk's meeting and whether Musk was acting as a private citizen wanting to do business in India or a member of the administration.
I would imagine he met possibly because, he's running a company.
Trump pushed on how a foreign leader may know the difference.
Well, he's meeting with me in a little while, so I'm going to ask him that question.
He's like, I'm the head of state and I'm here to do business too. I personally am basically like the reverse of it. Someone who was elected as the head of state who also wants to do business deals. He's someone who is a businessman who's doing head of state stuff to basically do business deals. We're two sides of the same coin, It's cool.
So the Indian prime minister was also asked if they discussed any business. He would only say that he has known Elon Musk for a very long time, guys.
All right, Rachel, thank you so much for your reporting.
The Department of Education canceled more than $350 million.
The way media has just reported it, these as mass layoffs is absurd. The firings are illegal. You can't just mass terminate federal employees without cause, even if they're probationary. Even if they're probationary, people are losing their health care and lives are being torn apart. It's so fucking upsetting. Yeah, remember the 23% underemployment statistic that we looked at yesterday? 23% of the current existing workforce is either doing part-time jobs or basically makes less than $25,000, which is a poverty wage, okay? Now, remember, the reminder here is that obviously the people that are currently being fired are not exactly caked up, but they at least have like decent jobs in comparison to the people making $25,000 a year. And we're firing them by the tens of thousands as well. Okay? Not only is this firing process unimaginably cruel, okay, it's also not done for good reason, and it will lead to a lot of these services that people rely on that they don't even realize that they rely on to go away, to be crippled. Of course, saying that this is illegal is virtually inconsequential in this process because what are you going to do about it is basically the attitude that is demonstrated by this administration over and over again. A lot of people also don't understand that the federal government in and of itself does have a bunch of jobs that are just simply good to have, right? Not every single person is dealing with issues in the most efficient way possible, but it doesn't matter. It's not supposed to be that way. Jobs are given to people in many instances, whether it's the federal government or even in private enterprise, not because you have to have this many people working on this job, but sometimes jobs are given to people because it's good to have jobs, okay? It's good to keep people busy. It's good to keep people, it's good to make sure that they have a way of purchasing more commodities, to have disposable income. It's an important facet of the federal government. Okay. And in many circumstances, considering, especially on the private sector, how much these guys engage in layoffs, most of the jobs that were previously done by 5 people, 6 people are now being done by 1 person or 2 people as a consequence of technological improvements that make the workforce more productive. But that also means that there are less people making an honest living in that process. And that's a bad thing for the economy. Okay? Saying that helps the conservatives' points that these people don't do shit and should be fired. Yes, because conservatives are stupid. Conservatives are stupid and live in a fantasy world where they think every single person on the job site is maximizing their efficiency at every point, not recognizing that they themselves in their own immediate workplaces are probably playing that very same role. Okay, whether it's a blue-collar job or a white-collar job, whether you're on the assembly line of some sort, you are not maxing out your efficiency at every given point. And it's understandable that you're not doing that. You're not supposed to do that. It's ridiculous to do that, especially if you're working for somebody else. Okay? The question I have for people is, and I guess like if you want to have this conversation with conservatives, you can have it on the basis of AI, because they were genuinely fearful of artificial intelligence and self-driving cars taking away key parts of the trucking sector, right? They were truly worried about that. And the question remains, okay, if AI and self-driving cars are going to eradicate the trucking sector, is that the best possible thing to do when we're moving forward? Should there not still be someone that sits on top of that truck, even if there's a FSD structure that exists? Okay, we criticize, or not criticize, but like we make fun of Japan, for example, where there's like so many people working in these like ridiculous positions. There's always like an old person that covers like 4 sides of any sort of construction, where they're just sitting there with a light stick in their hands going like this all day, every day. Why does that guy do that? Now, obviously, he's too old to be doing that to begin with, and it's crazy that he's still working. But why is that guy doing that job? Does he have to do that job? Could that job be relegated to I don't know, a automated light stick? Probably. Definitely, as a matter of fact. It's not necessarily just because of safety, chatters. A big part of why these jobs exist is so that there is money to be given to these people so they can make a fucking honest living. People don't understand that. I agree that maximizing efficiency is bad for working conditions, but framing these jobs the only way to give people money isn't the right rhetoric when talking to conservatives about this. No, I'm not simply talking about this from the perspective of these are jobs that need to exist so that people get paid. I'm simply tackling the concept of why jobs exist to begin with in certain sectors. Okay? In order for a society to be healthy and to function, you got to get people jobs. Okay? You got to make sure that they're fulfilling a role, a duty. Okay? We need that. We need that more than anything else. Okay? But on top of that, a lot of these fucking jobs that are being eliminated right now are profoundly important anyway. And the consequences of eliminating these jobs and these mass layoffs is only going to be seen further down the line. Okay?
Dollars in spending yesterday for what it called woke initiatives, and much deeper cuts could be ahead. President Trump wants Linda McMahon to dismantle it entirely. But many people are confused over what the...
I'm a probationary employee that took the fork offer and still got fired late last night by email. If you're like me, you can still file an appeal with the MSPB for wrongful termination, even if you're probationary.
department does and how school districts could be affected. Caitlin Huey-Burns is on Capitol Hill. Caitlin, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Nate. Well, you may know billionaire CEO Linda McMahon is the CEO of...
I don't disagree, but those people can't be doing nothing. Making things more efficient and cutting worthless jobs isn't inherently bad. It's about how the surplus produced is allocated. Yeah, except it is inherently bad. Okay? The proper process in this circumstance is not to fire people. Let's say technological efficiency has made it so that you can get the same work done a decade prior in literally 2 hours, okay? In a decade ago, you could get the same workload done over the course of an 8-hour workday, okay? Now you can do it in 2 hours. What is supposed to happen in a normal society, in an evolved society, is that you still get paid the same amount of money, okay, and you work 2 hours instead of the 8. But what obviously capital owners want to do in that process is fire all of the additional employees and make sure that 1 or 2 people are now tasked with this because they can do the entire workday's workload in 2 hours. That's efficiency. That's productivity. That's what this means when people say, oh, productivity's increased, whereas wages have remained stagnant. Okay? To your point, China has automated seaports. They still have longshoremen, but they work in a chair and use joysticks to... Exactly. You have to have people still working. Technology is supposed to be a benefit to take away the burden of day-to-day work, okay? It's not supposed to be utilized in a way to offset the existing labor force. It's not supposed to be utilized in a way where you're engaging in mass layoffs, okay? That is what's so silly about this conversation. And many Americans who are primed to believe that capitalism is good, unironically, write away their own death warrants. Okay? They don't realize it's like, no, we have to be super invested in efficiency. It's like, it's okay. It's okay to have efficiency at the job site. Okay? But what you fail to comprehend is that efficiency is not supposed to displace you. That efficiency is supposed to reduce your burden. It's supposed to reduce your workload, not actually keep your workload the exact same, but now your output is 10x because of technological advancements. Okay? That's the major problem. That is, I think, in this day and age, with AI becoming a conversation at the forefront of what will happen in the next step with labor, which is, I guess if you want to consider it like the next industrial revolution, okay? A lot of people who are so brain broken by capitalism being the only game in town, so fearful of the alternatives, have refused to reckon with what will happen once so much of the labor force is displaced. What do? Do you become a Wall-E style a person stuck to a chair that's like constantly consuming stuff? Is that your only purpose in life, is to become a part of the consumption engine? And then those who are not a part of that consumption engine are working the assembly lines and working for meager wages and dire conditions and worse conditions as we supercharge the exploitation? Is that what we're supposed to be doing? Is that the perfect future? Is that the utopian future that technology and all of its endless bounty was supposed to offer us? It's crazy. It's crazy that so many people do unironically feel like, well, I guess that's just the way things are. Even from a capitalist point of view, you're supposed to slow hiring, then trickle layoffs and buyouts to not collapse the local economy. People think food stamps is about being altruistic and not about keeping the stores open and the crime rate down. Exactly. That's the other side of this process that people don't understand. Wealthy libertarians used to call welfare the riot tax because they understood that without any social safety nets, there would be too much chaos and too much instability. But these guys forgot that aspect, okay? Or at the very least, they're stress testing how much they can destroy the working poor without ever having to deal with the violent consequences that are inevitable. Okay? I thought food stamps were subsidizing farmers. It subsidizes everything. Food stamps are there to subsidize Walmart paying very little to its workforce. I manage a team in corporate America. I've been put on notice that if I do not train the new skills into my team and their work can be done with AI or automation, then I have to lay them off. It's insane. I don't understand how people can't comprehend what future we are leading, what future we're bouldering towards, like a very negative one, not a positive one at all. Okay. How do people not see that? Meanwhile, as I'm talking about the dire situation, what terrorists are we platforming today? I'd love to see some Al-Qaeda old timers getting some W's in the chat and telling how pog it was to do 9/11. Yeah, dude. Big fan of 9/11 is me. I'm a big fan of 9/11. Dog, you've been in this community since well, you unfollowed and refollowed, but you've been in this community since 2021. Okay. Like, I said America deserved 9/11 in 2019. What happened? Did you rewrite your fucking brain in the process? Like, what happened? For years and years, you were in here, okay, as a fan. Subscribe for 2 months in the past. Like, how did you forget your previous assumptions that you had made about me only with, I don't know. Like, how do you go from have a wonderful Saturday, buddy, to, oh, you love terrorism? Like, you were in here, okay? You were literally in here under the assumption that maybe I don't love terrorism. That person had fun here. That's what I mean. It's crazy. Like, how do you lose? How? This RP shit is the tits. I mean, fuck politics. Give me more of this, Lamau. How do you lose sight of, like, who you were and what your previous positions were? That's truly. Read his comment about America. Yeah, America will be taken over by Nazis within 5 years. You heard it here first. My man literally called out the current state of affairs in 2021. Okay? Like, he was right. You were right in 2021. When you were a fan, you were right. Now this is the type of insane shit that you're saying. How did this happen? How did you get here? Okay? What steps did you take in your life that caused you to go from, in 2021, correctly predicting the current business, the current order of affairs, into becoming a part of that movement? Think about that. What is this? It's called 5 Asmin videos a day. Your editors are pumping one every 2 days. I mean, there's nothing you can do on that front. You watched Asmin for 3 years? No, I don't think this is a Asmin Gold fan. I think this is, anyway. Try to go back to where your brain was in 2021, because you clearly had better opinions back then, chatter, okay? My logs are so embarrassing. I asked you to watch Mr. Beast multiple times before Trump got shot at. That's funny. Maybe it's because I didn't game. No, he unfollowed in, like, somewhere along 2022, it seems, and then came back just now to say, what terrorism are we watching today? Hasan hates Jews. Nice, dude. Yeah, maybe if you keep writing that in the chat over and over again, it'll become true. It's not. It's never going to be true, but it's okay. You can keep fantasizing. Weirdo.
WWE, the former CEO, and she also served in the cabinet in Trump's first term. But now she's in the unique position of trying to lead an agency that President Trump wants to get rid of.
I mean, there's a certain group right now that's going insane over your chair and the cost it has. Yeah, ironically enough, I got it for free. Logitech sent it to me for free. But of course I would pay for it.
And I am really all for the president's.
Now let's talk about what actually matters, okay? The fucking Department of Education being abolished, okay? Eyes on the prize, everybody. If you're coming in here to be like, I am going to advance the agenda of my favorite content creator online by, sparking the flames of drama at a time when the fucking Department of Education is slated to be abolished, when tens of thousands of federal employees are being laid off, and this is what you care about, I'm sorry, you are a very unserious person. I know that this sounds like fun stuff to focus on. I get it. I totally get it. Especially because it keeps your brain occupied at a time when change seems so far away, okay? But goddamn, please, I don't want to yuck your yum, okay? I do not want to yuck your yum. If this is what you fancy, if this is what you like to do, great, more power to you, okay? But don't try to, like, masquerade this as some sort of serious political commentary. You understand? With all this DOE talk, what's your take on homeschooling? I think it should be abolished. I think it should be illegal. And in many competent countries, it is. I wish these cheese brain YouTube drama frogs would get back to their financial aid office jobs and beating their shit off to them 2 boys on Supernatural.
Mission, which is to return education to the states.
At her confirmation hearing
Why is Triple
Thursday,
H in the background? I don't even know what the fuck's going on
Linda
there,
McMahon
honestly.
acknowledged that doing away with the Department of Education would require an act of Congress.
It is set up by the United States Congress, and we work with Congress. It clearly cannot be shut down without it.
While President Trump has long pledged to abolish the agency.
Oh, I'd like it to be closed immediately. Look, the Department of Education's a big con job.
On Thursday, McMahon suggested that some of the department's core functions could be moved elsewhere.
It is not the president's goal to defund the programs. It is only to have it operate more efficiently.
Established by Congress in 1979, the Department of Education has an $80 billion budget. But most of the funding for education comes from state and local governments, with the federal government contributing only about 13%. The agency provides financial assistance to low-income schools, administers Pell Grants, oversees federal student loans, and enforces rules around civil rights and students with disabilities. Arne Duncan ran the Department of Education under President Obama and says states are already in charge.
What the Department of Education does is adds additional resources to make sure children with special needs have access to public education. Children who need access to food have that. Children who need access to pre-K has that. So to somehow act like the U.S. Department of Education is in charge of education in America is beyond dishonest.
Now, the Trump administration is considering executive action that would direct the Department of Education secretary to put forward a plan.
Remember, guys, Biden could never possibly, wait, what the fuck? Hold on one second. Why does this, what is happening with my alerts? God damn it, dude. My alerts have been busted for some time now. I don't know why. I got to fix them at some point, but okay, that's neither here nor there. All right, so my layout is like that. Yeah, Biden could not abolish student loan debt, which was in his legal purview, okay? Which it, like, regardless of whatever the Supreme Court says, like, he absolutely had the right to do that, okay? Meanwhile, Donald Trump is literally abolishing the Department of Education in its entirety. Oh my God. What a ridiculous situation we're in, dude. What a crock of shit this is. How did you predict this? What is this? Oh, shut up. That's... What? What? Yeah, Mankind. No. Undertaker throws Mankind off top of Hell in the Cell. Oh my God, you got me. You got me. I watched the clip. I watched your clip. Bergamania strikes again. I'm pretty sure he just got Trump to nominate our North Dakota State Superintendent as the new Assistant Director of the Department of Education. In her statement, I'm excited to support over 49 million students in America. I think it's really funny to think that Donald Trump consistently states that countries like Norway, Sweden, Finland, and even China are so good at education, right? Their education is so much better than the United States of America, okay? And it's really interesting because on the one hand, he recognizes that. On the other hand, he doesn't recognize how they got there or why they're there and why America is not there. Okay? If Donald Trump was truly interested in fixing America's awful education standing in the world, he would probably look a little bit deeper. He would maybe scratch the surface. Okay? I tweeted about this yesterday. Donald Trump, or 2 days ago, Trump talking about shutting down the Department of Education while hyping up Norwegian and Chinese education is insane. These countries have well-funded public education systems. I know you're covering important stuff right now, but how are people making videos that get 160,000 views about you going to jail? Why is this a thing? Some guy named Nuxanor got in my feed. It's so weird. Happy Valentine's. Wait, what? People are making videos about me possibly going to jail? Oh, because of my pro-Palestinian commentary? Is that what it is? I'm going to go to jail for being pro-Palestine? Love that. Isn't that the lolly pedo guy? Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, it could happen. I think it's wild to fantasize about that and act like that is a good thing. But, you know, like, do you want that to happen? That's the question you should be asking, I guess. What if they want you to go to a cool Norwegian prison? Yeah, I don't think so. Anyway, some anime YouTuber is mad at you. It's not just an anime YouTuber, because I have a lot of friends in the anime YouTube. It's a lolicon pedo enjoyer who has a VTuber avatar. And he is unimaginably pro-Israel. Shockingly. Shockingly, he is incredibly pro-Israel and has lost his fucking mind. You make the wildest enemies. It's just so consistent, though. It's so incredibly consistent. What the fuck? Why is my goddamn alerts broken? That's so annoying. Anyway, are you the anti-pedo spray? Yes, I am the anti-genocide and anti-pedophile, preeminent anti-genocide, anti-pedophilia content creator. One of the other or both. It depends. If you fit in the category of someone who is maybe agnostic to genocide or agnostic to sex crimes and pedophilia, okay, sometimes both, oftentimes both, as a matter of fact, you probably are not going to have a good time here, okay? You are going to hate me, it seems. Anyway.
To diminish the agency. Now, anything to get rid of the Department of Education would have to be passed by legislation in Congress. But President Trump is expected to push leaders up here on Capitol Hill for just exactly that. Tony?
Reagan tried it, couldn't do it. Maybe Trump will accomplish it. Caitlin, thank you very much. Appreciate it. We'll keep following it. Other developments in Washington, mass firings of federal workers are underway this morning, part of the Trump administration's effort to dramatically cut back on the government overall. The firings could only number in the hundreds of thousands. And in another dramatic change, the president is promising more tariffs, this time on any country that has a tariff on us. He says, basically, if they charge us, we're going to charge them right back. Nancy Cordes is at the White House with more on what all this means. Nancy, good morning.
Good morning, Tony. This can be confusing, so here it is in a nutshell. Currently,
National Institute of Health News. My girlfriend just told me that they just fired all of the staff scientists and senior postdocs within her branch of the Neuroscience Research Program Department. Sorry for spam. Last message about it. I mean, who needs neuroscientists, dude? At the National Institute of Health. That's not necessary research, dude. I don't understand. Why would you ever need that? The neuroscientist is the natural. Also, yes. I'll have you know, a neuroscientist is the natural enemy of a brainworm, okay? And considering that the HHS is now run by the worm in the brain, I suspect that many actions will be taken against those who want to eviscerate brainworms. Rand 940, thank you for the 10 community gifted subs. Are neuroscientists woke now? Yes. My lab lost R&D running last week and fired a couple hundred scientists working on a revolutionary new STD test system. It's, I mean, we already learned that with COVID. It's better if you don't test it, you know? If you don't test it, then it doesn't exist. Our dean keeps emailing students to contact congressmen saying our school is cooked without research funding. Wonder Gal 96, thank you for the fire gifted.
many countries place higher tariffs or taxes on U.S. goods than the U.S. imposes on theirs. President Trump is directing his advisors to now even think.
Guys, neuroscientists are bad because, one, they're anti-brainworm, okay, and that's an untenable position. And two, okay, and perhaps more importantly, they say stuff like, you know, blue chemical dye is probably not healthy to consume. Or gay and woke things like, we don't have enough research on whether or not blue chemical dye could actually help with any of your medical complications. When you hear stuff like that from a gay and woke neuroscientist, obviously, immediately, if you're a blue chemical dye kind of guy, you're going to go, okay, well, you're fired. Okay? Don't worry. I'm sure all the neuroscientists in Asma's chat are letting him know they were fired too. Yes. in between their guild trade ducting and trade chat, they're talking about how they're losing their neuroscience research jobs.
Things up. He says it will mean more revenue for the U.S. government, but economists warn it could also lead to a global trade war and drive prices up here at home.
Whatever they charge us, we're charging them.
Announcing his new plan in the Oval Office, President Trump said no country will be exempt from his reciprocal tariffs.
This applies to everybody across the board.
The term reciprocal tariffs may sound dry, but they could affect the price of almost everything. For example, the European Union currently imposes a 10% tariff on imported cars. But the U.S. only levies a 2.5% tariff on their cars. That would change under Trump's plan. Though he says world leaders like India's Narendra Modi, who met with Trump yesterday, would be welcome to negotiate.
It's very hard.
There is something very funny about Trump doing reciprocal tariff policies. And like for cars, I kind of get it because it's like a part of our manufacturing capabilities right now, even though it is limited. Okay. And also part of the reason why other countries, other marketplaces simply don't buy our cars is, of course, to improve their own domestic manufacturing, to make sure that people are still buying local, but also because our fucking cars literally don't work on their roads, okay? Some of our cars are illegal to drive on European roads. Most of our cars, like the F-150, which is the most popular vehicle every single year, with the exception of last year, where Toyota RAV4 actually outflanked the Ford F-150 pickup truck for the first time in, I believe, like multiple decades, okay? The Ford F-150 cannot be driven on European roads without a commercial driving license. What are they supposed to do? What are they supposed to do? Our cars have gotten increasingly larger and larger, okay? Its engine size is too large. It's too heavy. It does not abide by European safety standards, like woke and gay safety standards, such as pedestrian safety, okay? If your car is far too high, it creates additional problems for pedestrians in walkable cities. Now, if you're an American, you're probably looking at me and going, the fuck do you mean? What's a walkable city? What the hell is a walkable city? Do you mean when you walk from the double wide parking lot spot that I parked my F-350 King Rancher into to walk over to the Walmart? Is that what you mean? Walkable cities? 15-minute cities? That's a part of the problem. America has never been invested in actually competing in other marketplaces and has enforced its dominance through tariffs and through this complicated global trade structure. That's the problem. Okay? The Japanese were literally just dumping the F-150s. They were forced to purchase as a vassal state a shit ton of Ford vehicles. They're fine vehicles. It's just that you can't use them in Japan. What are they supposed to do? Now we're treating every country like we did Japan in the 90s when they were popping off too hard. Ugh. Anyway, the issue is if America was actually invested in real trade, they would try to universalize our safety standards and our regulations so that they could make a competitive product for other marketplaces. But that's not going to happen. Do you understand? So now we're just going to do what? We're going to force these countries to purchase these cars. Otherwise, we will dominate them or some shit. Like, it doesn't make sense. And I say this as someone who obviously, one, loves the UAW. Okay. Shouts out to the UAW. Loves that there is at least some semblance of manufacturing in this country that doesn't revolve around making murder weapons and finding new and unique ways to laser brown children overseas. Okay. But the reality of the matter is those guys are just making whatever car that their bosses tell them to make, okay? It's not like they're designing the fucking cars. And even the designers are not designing the cars because this is this is a passion project or whatever. They're designing the cars in a way to make the highest level of profit. Mirage just walked by and said, engineers deserve all the money. It's kind of like how over here in Europe, most American cars that were on sale 20 to 30 years ago were retired earlier than usual because they were so crap compared to local manufacturers / Japanese / Korean ones. What are they going to do now? If they come again, they'll be thrown into the scrapyard within 15 years. At Ford F-150 didn't lose to no dadgum Toyota, brother. You're lying. Yeah. One must ask. Ran 940. Thank you for the 35 community gifted subs. And Ave Satana. Thank you for the 10 gifted subs. Okay. Peace. All right, we'll do. Anyway, it just doesn't make any sense in terms of trade. It doesn't make any sense. It's so stupid. It's so ridiculous. We're just like being bullies. In a way, it's no different than the NATO situation. Well, I guess it's even worse than the NATO situation. Demanding that other countries put more into their own defense, like a higher percentage of their GDP into their defense and, fingers crossed, purchase more American weapons is a way to demand more in your extraction, is a way to extract more resources from your protection racket. Okay. His reciprocal tariffs also include regulation a country has that restricts American companies, for example, banking regulations in Canada. Oh, fantastic. I think in order for countries to maintain some semblance of sovereignty and some semblance of autonomy, they are going to have to probably restrict trading with this wonderful nation and maybe find themselves in the hands of the global monster of manufacturing, China. Now, I don't know. I don't know if they'll do that. They probably won't. But it's crazy. If the World Bank and the IMF and their incredibly restrictive austerity implementations for the loans, the incredibly restrictive conditions they had on their loans, their lending structure, was awful for a lot of developing nations, and they found themselves in the hands of the One Belt, One Road initiative coming out of China because they were just offering a better alternative out there. There's a better way, there's a better pathway for European partners in trade as well.
To sell into India because they have trade barriers, very strong tariffs. We are right now a reciprocal nation.
Deutsche Bank warned this week that reciprocal tariffs pose additional upside risks to the inflation outlook. Trump claims the pain would be temporary.
Well, I think what's going to go up is jobs are going to go up, and prices could go up somewhat short term, but prices will also go down.
Billionaire Elon Musk and his children also met with Modi yesterday. In a virtual appearance at an international summit, Musk, who heads the Department of Government Efficiency, said he's working to eliminate not just jobs, but entire cabinet-level departments.
We do need to delete entire agencies as opposed to leave part of them behind.
As for a timeline for when reciprocal tariffs could take effect, the president's commerce secretary says that the research should be done by April 1st, and then it's up to Trump when exactly to enact any of the new recommendations. Nate?
All right, Nancy, thank you. Right now, we have CBS News Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Grady here right now to break down what these tariffs actually mean for your bank book. Good morning. Good to see you. So let's jump right into it. So how would this impact, us in the U.S. and when will it take effect?
Unfortunately, us pushing EU towards China narrative does not work. Both EU and China want to grow through exports. Both need an import economy as their partner. It simply does not work. That's also fair. But who knows, man? Who knows? China's got a lot of money. Maybe they'll unleash the treats. Access to the Chinese marketplace is safeguarded by the government. I doubt that they would change that structure, but yeah, the American treatlerites are an endless resource for every other country, including China. Okay, this is part of the reason why the One Belt, One Road initiative is so important for the future of China. They want to develop secondary markets so that they can make up for the loss that the loss of access to the American treatlerite consumer base. We've we've constructed the world economy by weaponizing our trade deficits through abusing exorbitant privilege. But what happens if everyone joins BRICS? I mean, that's not I don't think BRICS is like a real alternative. Okay. Can we just sell California to the Dutch yet? China should move on from the consumerist model to a degrowth model. I doubt that that's going to happen. That's crazy. Chinese people don't spend like someone from the EU or NA, so opening up foreign goods more, that's also not true. They do. But this second part of what you're explaining is correct. Opening up foreign goods more so then they already do would starve their own companies is correct. That's the one thing that you're not wrong on in terms of. No, Chinese people are consumers, okay? China is very American coded, okay? They have affordable public transit, okay, that is readily available, but they also have mega cities with massive highways and a lot of fucking cars. I try to explain this to people and they don't understand. China is not like Japan at all in terms of like people constantly being heavily regulated and presenting themselves in a certain way in public, for example. They are chaotic in a very similar way to how Americans are, okay? They love their treats, just like Americans do. There are a lot of similarities between Americans and Chinese culture in that regard. They're hyper-consumerists. It's just that they're held together by a competent administrative state, okay? Your chat has never met a Chinese person or visited China, I swear. Yeah, I mean, yes, they probably never visited China. I've never visited China either, but, you know. Aren't they also way less individualistic? I mean, yes, I think like there's obviously a lot of cultural remnants that play a role here, but I think what's more important is the actual government, is the way that the government operates. It's not that bad, but it's boring as hell. We do buy a lot. We just stopped buying Western goods. Why buy from countries that actively demonize China? We buy locally now, and the products are much more competitively priced. Top G is back with another banger. Do you think the Chinese will need to start thinking about financializing their economy? I hope not. I mean, it's already led to a bunch of issues, a bunch of bubbles that they had to deal with recently. I think financialization of the economy is suicide. Look at the United States of America. You know what financializing your economy does? First of all, it's the exact opposite. Even if there is any degree of financialization, it is done with a broader vision from the government, okay? But as far as financialization in the United States of America goes, virtually every single company that was tasked with manufacturing, even those within the defense sector, even, you know, incredibly important companies like Boeing, have turned into banks, okay? That's what happens when you financialize every sector. Every single company turns into a fucking bank. They don't make moves. They don't actually manufacture new goods. They don't actually invest enough in R&D in terms of like actual new competitive products or things that actually improve people's lives, okay? Faster planes or whatever. They use all of their resources, all of the existing additional resources that they have to make financial manipulation, to engage in financial manipulation so that they can keep increasing their stock prices. That's it. That's what happens when you turn into a bank. And obviously, in that process, there are a lot of cost-cutting initiatives that come in. There's a lot of harm done to the labor sector in the process because you're engaging in layoffs, okay? And then a decade later, the outsourcing of manufacturing and the gutting of the regulatory state play a role in planes fucking falling out of the sky sometimes. And then we just go, how did this happen? Anyway.
That's the clarity that we all want, right? So let's think about some of the countries that could be impacted. Brazil, EU. What products do we get from them? So India, agriculture, textiles, medical devices. Brazil, petroleum, beef, coffee. And then the EU, wine, a key ingredient in weight loss drugs, cars like Audi and Mercedes. If the U.S. puts a tariff on these countries that already tax us, you will see prices potentially go up on those items. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, people will finish your thought, and then I have a follow-up.
So in terms of when this could take effect, as Nancy said, right, potentially April 2nd, these could go into place. It takes about 6 to 9 months for you to see that happen at the stores. Depends on the industry. It depends on the inventory. But we have a very delicate inflationary environment. This could escalate into a trade war. Could also be a negotiation tactic.
Yeah, I was jumping the gun on the counterpoint here because people care about rising prices, but they don't feel them as much if their wages are going up. So I think a question is, how does this affect businesses, and could it lead to more jobs somehow?
Potentially. So the idea is that we buy more goods from these countries than they buy from us. The president is hoping that these tariffs could encourage these countries to buy more from American companies. That means more demand. That means more need for American jobs. So
I like that there is no way to be actually competitive in the global marketplace with China, for example. So on the one hand, both the EU and the United States of America are desperately trying to push out Chinese goods from their marketplaces And then the United States also simultaneously is turning around and saying, you got to buy our shit instead. It is the same principle in every facet of the foreign policy that we push for, okay? No more natural gas from Russia. You got to get it from us. Oh, do you need to build new plants to take on American LNG? Sucks to suck. You got to fucking do it, bitch, okay? You can't buy cheap affordable Chinese electric vehicles. It's going to destroy your own domestic manufacturing, okay? Which is true. It will, right? But then also simultaneously, you need to buy our shit instead. Oh, does it not work on your roads? Will it destroy your roads that were built in like the 14th century? Sucks to suck. Oh, does an F-150 not fit on your narrow Italian streets? Sucks to suck. You have to buy it. I don't care where you put it. You can dump it in the ocean for all I give a shit. You have to buy it. By force. It's great. It's wonderful. It's fantastic. Seems great. So many American cars are literally illegal in Japan due to safety. Yeah. But hey, guess what, dude? We're the big bully on the global stage. So we will make sure that they are no longer illegal. Oh, do you have any sovereignty? Oh, you thought you had sovereignty. Oh, you thought you were a competent government working to a certain degree at the behest of the citizenry. Guess what, dude? Fuck your regulatory bodies, okay? Look at what we're doing to our regulatory state. Now your regulatory state will be gutted too. What happens if they say no? There are very few alternatives, so I don't know. I don't know. I think a part of this bargain that holds it together is obviously the American consumption machine, which is an incredibly valuable market. That's why while TikTok is marginal in terms of like the American market in terms of numbers is marginal for TikTok, it's massive for how much money is being made, how much revenue is being generated. TikTok is a great example of this. The American market by raw numbers is what is it like? By raw numbers in terms of like people using TikTok in the United States of America was 170 million. It's actually a still a decent percentage of the overall base of TikTok consumers. I believe it's around 10%. Okay, probably a little bit higher. Now, if you lose 10% of your user base, that's a pretty significant. That's a pretty significant number of people, but it's not like dire. But what you're actually losing is the revenue, okay? Because despite making up, let's say, 10 to 20% of the base of users, the American marketplace makes up a pretty significant chunk of the revenue for TikTok. Because America has a lot of money. America is a very wealthy country. That's why even the average American in comparison to the average average European person has a shit ton more money in the global marketplace.
You could see something like that happen. Unfortunately, these companies, they don't know. We'll note the last time we did see industries lose some jobs because of these higher prices.
All right, interesting. All right, Kelly, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.